and welcome to Be in the Know, a series where we host informative conversations with clinical leaders, providers, and innovators on relevant and timely topics. I'm Beth Scheitel.
And I'm Marion Troyes, and today's topic focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Bergen County Sheriff is a law enforcement professional and community leader with more than 33 years of experience keeping Bergen County families safe. As sheriff of one of the law enforcement agencies in the state's most populous county, Anthony leads a team of 600 officers and civilians who are committed to safeguarding close to 1 million residents living in 70 municipalities. As a veteran of law enforcement, Anthony is a member of the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, National Chiefs of Police Association, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, or NOBLE, and New Jersey Chiefs of Police West Point Alumni Association. He also taught criminal justice as a professor at Ramapo College of New Jersey in Mahwah and Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck, and a guest lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City. In addition to his distinguished law enforcement career, Anthony has long been committed to making a difference in our community and giving back. He was the longtime president of Bergen County branch of NAACP, recently served on Governor Phil Murphy's transition team, and has served on numerous boards of directors, including those for Calvary Care after-school program, the Martin Luther King Jr. Senior Center, Care Plus New Jersey, Angwin Rotarian, and the Bergen County African American Advisory Board, City of Englewood Board of Adjustment, and the New Jersey Human Relations Council Executive Committee. Anthony holds a master's degree in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University and a BS in criminal justice from New Jersey City University in Jersey City. He also completed postgraduate studies in executive negotiation and conflict management at the University of Notre Dame, risk management and policy development at Pennsylvania State University, the Emerging Leadership Development Program with International City Council Managers Association in Washington, D.C. Anthony is also a graduate of West Point Command. He serves as the chairman of diversity and inclusion for the Major County Sheriffs Association USA and the section chief for sheriffs of the Constitutional Officers Association of New Jersey. Sheriff Cureton, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the program.
Well, so Beth, you have the first question.
Yeah, so our first question would be, how can individuals lead the charge in racial equality?
Well, I guess you have to assess the need of your agency or your community and decide how you're going to approach it. Typically, unfortunately, historically, certain groups or genders or race have been categorized in a way that we have to really bring it to the forefront, examine it, and how we're going to make it equitable for everybody. I think the key word is parity here. We got to keep that focused in our mind. Workplace, church, and other places. So that's have to be the initial starting point to really start to address it.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. The industrial landscape also is a place for DEI to expand. So what is the importance of the DEI strategy? Short-term changes that could be made for a long-term benefit when it comes to DEI in that workplace?
Leveling the playing field. I think that's the start. We typically walk in there again with the historically with the certain groups being rated, if you want to use that term, in certain ways. So again, we have to level the playing field, equity. The room has to look like that diverse group you have or that group you have identified. Because look, we all want a productive work environment where we're going to feel comfortable where we're coming into it. And that's in the world in general itself. We want to be equally accepted. And this is a challenge that America has, but we have to, one, have the willingness to want to address it and then try to find that solution. So.
Absolutely. It's there's a lot of things at play. So how do we kind of step towards those kinds of changes that we can make?
In our world, communication can drive any situation, but it's the willingness to sit down and want to have that conversation. That's a major barrier. I always tell everybody, if you want to know who I am, let's bring down the wall and I'll tell you everything you need to know about me. And you can find out if you really want to be around me. And I think that's the first challenge. If I don't know anything about Marion, it's not fair to Marion. I'm going to make my own conclusion on her. But I'd rather sit down and understand her likes, dislikes, and so forth, especially in a work environment, because now, again, we're equitable. We believe in parity. and I can work with you better because you have history in with your family, I have history in which my family and culture. And I think once we share that, we can appreciate one another. And that communication is establishment of relationship. Relationship makes everybody a little more palatable. We don't have to sit there and fight on our social issues or, cultural issues. It's just about talking and knowing.
Right. Empathy is a key component here, it sounds like. And how do we have those conversations freely?
Again, the major challenge in the room. Now, once again, depending on the setting, you can have close circle discussions, and those in the room, from my way of dealing with things, I have to target you with hopes of really forcing that discussion. With the Major County Sheriff's Association, we did a roundtable discussion, and so happened I facilitated a panel, discussed the first openly gay sheriff in Minnesota, the first openly gay female sheriff in Charleston, South Carolina, and the first Japanese sheriff from San Francisco, and how we were affected by our different groups. And it really was a challenge because the audience was wasn't equitable, if you want to say it that way, out of 120 different sheriffs. So to have that discussion open the floor and really force those certain sheriffs who self-admittedly that their agency didn't reflect the a culture that's consistent with the people they serve. So just having that conversation went from a 45-minute discussion, ended up going 2 hours, but it was just willing to sit down, open the door, and freely talk about that and how we can make our environment better. Now, one of the things I suggested and I had distributed was a survey. Sometimes we can hide behind a computer screen or keyboard, and really speak freely with anonymity. And from that, we were able to, judge or have numbers and really sat there and say, okay, how are we going to approach this from an analytical standpoint? And then once we had that information, we started to build a program on what we can take back to our various agencies. Again, that applies outside of law enforcement, that applies in society. The willingness to have that discussion and identifying that group, and everybody can be heard.
What do you feel that Bergen County has done to address these things, and kind of have we had those kind of conversations here within Bergen County?
Within Bergen County, we recognize the community. We understand how within a community of nearly 1 million, that some places that you wouldn't expect to go into, we kind of forced ourselves into to make it, again, having that communication, that interaction. And we found out more folks in present day time are more willing to sit down and, understand each other so we can be a collective body of happy Bergen County residents. And it's a great thing. If we break the county down, in South Bergen, there's a different ethnic group. In the Tri-Cities, as I call it, you have a very diverse group, which has expanded to Southeast Bergen, which inclusive of Fort Lee, which is very much diverse, of Powell Park. So that whole central part of Bergen County has expanded and kind of forcing that discussion, which I love. I have to be honest. Jewish culture, I'm learning more about. The Italian culture, I'm learning more about. The Sikh culture, I'm learning more about. So for me, I'm glad I could be loaded with that and sit down and have those conversations. And it's the small things. All right, Marianne, tell me if I'm talking too much. It's the small things.
Never.
When you can walk in the room and identify someone's culture. I mean, in the Muslim community, assalamu alaikum. Latino community, como esta? Korean community, annyeonghaseyo. To sit there and address every culture, it's like, okay, the door is open, we can talk more, and you really taking that extra effort to learn about me.
Absolutely. So where did you take those lessons? Because I'd like to take those intro lessons.
Yeah,
it's
very impressive.
Just interacting.
You had me fooled.
I mean, I can't go deep in the dialogue, but I know how to say hi, how you doing? And I know how to say thank you, kamsahamnida, in Korean. So I've learned those. And just the mere fact you took the step to learn a portion of it opens that door for conversation.
That's wonderful. And what groups can the community get involved with to support diversity?
Well, you have a lot of churches or religious institutions that want you to come in and are willing also to go out in the community and build that relationship. Since I've been sheriff, and really prior to being sheriff, within the Muslim community, I established a relationship because they were inviting. It was like, come on, let's have this discussion, especially when I was the NAACP president, because African-American history is not really spread throughout. So it was a great forum where we could sit across the table. I can learn about the Muslim community and so forth. And the same as far as the Jewish community. I got involved with the Northern Jersey Jewish Federation. I claim myself to be an honorary member. But with that, I got to learn about certain Jewish cultures and, anti-Semitism and stuff. I can say, all right, I know what to do, what not to do, and I can share it with my community to show how these offensive incidents are consistent to what we've dealt with historically. But again, communication, the willingness to sit behind the table and not be scared to go back and forth and talk.
That's great. And then where can the community gather more information on the law enforcement for Bergen County, information on Bergen County, and also community outreach groups?
Each agency pretty much have their own community outreach group. The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, along with the Sheriff Department, we give a more global perspective throughout the county. But each law enforcement agency of the 70 in the county pretty much identify what their community needs are. They'll go out and, provide what that need, and we provide additional resource. So the one thing good about Bergen, we do have a great collective group of law enforcement. Our community is tight, and we really believe in community policing, which was evident if you look at the George Floyd era when that came about. We didn't have a problem with law enforcement. We all came together, and at some point, you can find it on the website, we had a video, a social justice video, where we got all the chiefs who was willing to participate to be part of this video discussing about law enforcement and its relationship and how we're not going to allow that in our community. So during that whole era, we had marches, but we didn't have any incidents of violence or anything like that. But we had a welcoming door, and we had more people who wanted to sit at the table with us.
I think that's such a beautiful thing, the community coming together and having open and honest conversations and listening to one another rather than fighting one another just on beliefs or anything that they might have. In order to make meaningful changes for both short and long-term strategies, measuring the impact can be a pivotal component to overall outcomes. How do you suggest DEI be tracked?
Surveys, those community groups you have a relationship with. You have gender groups, Urban League, NAACP. Everybody wants to talk. So I think we can track based off that. A lot of groups want to go back to their respective community for that input so they can carry it back, and we can all, again, bring it to the table and have that discussion.
That's great. There's a lot of great information that you've provided today, and I really appreciate, Beth and I really appreciate you being here and being on Be in the Know. It's truly an honor to have you actually leading our law enforcement in the county year after year. So thank you for your dedicated service, even before you've been in the county. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to close with one thing, if I may.
Absolutely.
Equity aims to achieve fairness by considering each individual's trajectory and context, and should not be confused with the notion of equality, which aims to treat everyone the same. Equity, equality. We look to see each other the same. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anthony, thank you so much for joining us for this highly informative conversation. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today, but we want to thank the foundation at Bergen Newbridge and everyone that supports the fundraising efforts to advance the mission to enhance the community, health, and well-being by providing high-quality, compassionate care that is acceptable to those in need. We welcome you to follow and subscribe on all social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our website, newbridgehealth.org. We really thank all of our viewers for joining us, and a special thank you to you, Anthony, for all your passion and dedication of great work that you do for the communities of Bergen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.